We are here today with the musical act Ghost Estate. And can you state your name? I'll let you guys state your names. So,
I'm Virginia Luella.
And I'm Josh Lockery.
Awesome. And can you describe like who and what is Ghost Estate? Like describe a little bit of your background, how you guys came together to do music and all that fun stuff. So.
Well, we actually met back in high school, and didn't do music together back then, but we kept in touch over the years. And then I moved to Pittsburgh about 5.5 years ago, and pretty much as soon as I moved here, we started working together. I've got a background in classical music. Josh is self-trained and does amazing things with that. And Ghost Estate started almost a year ago when we did a gig with you for Chuck Alston.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, it was fun. And we put together a few songs for that in this kind of Celtic Fusion style and really enjoyed it and got a pretty good response. So decided to turn it into a band.
Yeah, why not?
Previous to this, like a lot of the stuff we had done together were projects that I had started and just kind of pulled her into because she's awesome.
Yeah, she has an amazing voice.
She's really, really good. And but with Ghost Estate, the ideas had shown up in previous projects, but this is an attempt to do something that's more us together rather than my thing with her on the side. So.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. So, and what are some of your influences for your sound? If you can, like, lump them all into one little,
Yeah.
Because I know I have a lot of different influences for my
it's always
stuff,
hard
so
to choose.
Exactly, yeah.
Definitely coming from a Celtic background, the silly wizard, old blind dog sort of thing. Definitely coming from psychedelic Pink Floyd, Cure kind of angle. Definitely coming from I listened to a lot of electronic music in the 80s, so I've got kind of a techno vibe going on.
Yeah.
A little bit of everything.
Yeah.
People tend to compare us to like Lorena McKenna a little bit and October Project and bands like that. I think that, and both of us, I think also draw from the classical end of things for some of the arrangements. One of my biggest influences is an opera singer named Dawn Upshaw.
Oh, okay.
And she's got such a versatile voice. And that's kind of my goal for this project is to use my voice in as many different ways as I can, as appropriate to the songs. So we have a consistent sound, but one that's not just repetitive.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because you want that sound to be consistent, but you don't want it to sound like the same song
over and over
again. Just
which
with different lyrics.
sometimes you listen to some folk music, and the folk music can sound a little repetitive because it's got similar themes and chord progressions.
Yeah.
So I think Josh and the way he's writing the arrangements, and me and the way that I'm trying to sing them and play violin.
Yeah.
It's
when I reviewed I was very impressed with your EP, like when I reviewed it and everything. And I think I even mentioned in my EP the song My Love Is Like a Red Red Rose. That's actually not one of my favorite songs. But you guys did it to where like I actually really enjoyed listening to it. I was like, like typically like cuz I've heard other people, not that those artists like weren't good with the way with their arrangement, but it's just not just a very aesthetically pleasing song to me personally. But just the way you guys did it, you guys were able to take a song that like I really wasn't a big fan of and like make me really enjoy listening to it. That's and I think, like when you can do that, like that's, like you're doing something right, And of course I love Josh's arrangements and, your vocals. And I think I was one of the people who said like Lorena McKenna, I think I even said Faith in the Muse and, like those.
More Than a Little Dead Can Dance.
Yes.
Dead Can Dance, exactly, yeah. So, definitely, you can definitely hear the Celtic electronic and,
One of the strengths that I think we're developing so far, and we've got a couple new songs that we're going to have at our next show,
awesome,
is everything we do, you can listen to it and say, oh, that sounds like Ghost Estate, but it doesn't sound like the rest of our songs. All of our songs sound pretty distinct.
Yeah.
So that's what we're trying for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's, me too.
Yeah,
I write my second album, I'm trying to veer a little bit away from what I did with my first album. Not too much, but like veer a little bit away from it, try a little bit different things so that it could be still my sound, but, but something a little bit different, a little more. I think for this one, I tell people I'm taking a more masculine approach and like doing like a little bit more heavier metal influence stuff than I did on my first one. But
very cool.
Yeah.
Which I can see really working with the stuff you do. So.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, and you guys are awesome too. So, now, do you prefer because I know some artists, they prefer the creative process over the performing process, and for some it's vice versa, What about you guys? Do you prefer to be creative, or do you like the performing process, or is there anything you like and dislike about both? Or?
There is not a mutual answer for this question.
I'll let you answer this one first.
I actually have incredibly bad stage fright that I've always really struggled with. So the performing process for me, once I kind of get going and there's a good rapport with the audience, I can get into it.
Yeah.
But it's always really fraught. So yeah. And every time we've got a show coming up, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, why am I doing this again? Like I said, once it gets going, it works for me. But because of that issue, the creative process for me is much more comfortable. And I really enjoy, like, sitting for a couple afternoons and just writing. And, just tossing ideas around and working with Josh and playing off of each other. Some of the music that we're doing, I'll write the music and the lyrics, and then he'll write an arrangement, and then that'll affect the way I'm working on my end of things, and it's this trade-off, and I really love that process.
Yeah. Yes. What about you?
Me, on the other hand, I love it all.
Yeah.
I love performing live, or more specifically, I love when I'm performing live.
Yeah.
Like before the show, I have crazy anxiety. After the show, I've got crazy post-show depression.
Yeah.
But like when I'm there.
Yes.
And I do love working in the studio. I love sitting down with a pen and paper and writing out complex arrangements. All the guitar solos on the record have been meticulously written out, and then I like to take it live and just jam out from there and just mention Pink Floyd, love Pink Floyd. Pink Floyd in some ways is one of the worst shows I've ever seen, just because the solos sounded note for note like the album.
Right.
And they just really disappointed me, because I really just wanted to
just hear them
just
go
hear them
off
go.
on a tangent. Yeah.
So I like it all.
Well, that's good. Yeah, because like I said, I think you performed very well when I saw it.
Well, thank you, and I appreciate that. I do my best. It's just like I said, it's just struggling with that issue.
It's understandable.
Makes things a little.
Well, I think all artists, like, they go through a sort of like a pre-show anxiety, because obviously, you know what, if you care anything about your work and anything about your presentation, you're gonna worry about, oh God, I hope we can deliver this so that the audience enjoys it and everything, so that they get what we're doing and everything, because nothing's more frustrating than somebody's like, well, I don't get what you were doing, because you as an artist, like, you're like, well, what's there not to understand, It's like, but then it's like, sometimes you have to put yourself in the audience's, perspective, and just maybe go just that little extra mile, just in case somebody might be sitting there like, huh, what's that, But but I think all artists who care anything about their work and craft go through some sort of, pre-show nerves, or, So.
When I started off doing a lot of ambient noise, abstract music, and a lot of it was so mentally and emotionally draining, and just pouring myself into these walls of static that nobody really cared about. So.
Sometimes you have to go through that. that then, you know?
And I'd love to get back to doing some of that stuff too,
Yeah.
because I love it, but it's, like you say, wondering with the audience if they're going to get what you're doing and doing stuff like that. Odds are no.
Yeah.
So doing something like this, as weird as we kind of are,
Yeah.
it's like crazy accessible from my perspective.
Yeah. I mean, like, you know, I mean, because on the one hand, there's like the artist part in you. It's like, well, I just want to do my art. Who cares about what people think? But then it's like, well, do you want to sell your art? You know, so sometimes you kind of have to compromise a little bit, you know, which I've had to do that, you know, and because like there's been a couple of times when like I'd have this crazy idea and I'm like, oh, this is awesome, and then like I pitch it to other people and they're like, but that's not gonna sell, and I'm like, well, why not? You know, it's like, but you know what? But then it's like I'd have to water it down, you know. So it's just kind of like, you know, sometimes you do have to do that little compromise and everything, you know.
Take those important ones and put them on the back burner.
Yes.
Yeah. What I found, like, throughout my musical life is one thing I enjoy, though, is finding that balance and then having the opportunity to expose people to things they haven't heard before.
Yes.
And you know, when I sing classically, I did a lot of 20th and 21st century music, which the classical world is fairly conservative, and so that's not.
Oh God, yeah.
Not. I was being nice.
I come from a classical background too, so I know. Yeah. You can't go in with Marilyn Manson makeup and sing, you know, like, I mean, even with the medium, the Black Swan, it's like you still have to be relatively conservative, because I've sung the Black Swan many times. But I can't go in there with, like, you know, my goth attire and all that stuff, because I don't think that would go over.
It's funny, we're actually thinking about doing an arrament of that for this project, just to do live once in a while. Because I love that song and have sung it a lot.
Yeah.
And, Minotti is one of my favorite composers all around. So.
Yeah. And doing this, we can go in with Marilyn Manson makeup.
Exactly, and do it. Yeah, exactly. And then you'll get, like, a whole, you know, like you said, introduce a whole new, like, audience to, like, something that's kind of cool, because you know, I've done the Black Swan in a live concert before. You know, I've done Music of the Night from Phantom of the Opera before and everything, and you know, and it's like I'm doing like kind of like this kind of dark goth rock kind of stuff, and then I stop and do this classical piece, and the audience, like, they love it.
Yeah.
You know?
You just have to introduce it to them in a context that they're going to get. Because, you know, I'm sure you've encountered, there's some people in the pop world who have this mental block about classical music. But if you bring them in, again, you find that balance. And you bring them in on a level that they can really connect to.
Yeah. And, like, sometimes I get louder applause for that than my original stuff. So it's just like, okay. You know, so yeah.
But sometimes that happens if people are hearing something that really, you know, pushes some boundaries for them.
Absolutely. So, yeah, I mean, so I look forward to hearing your version of the Black Swan then, you know? So now we get into maybe a little more deep questions. Like, obviously, us independent artists, we pretty much, I mean, we do most of our promoting on the internet. I'd say like a good large portion of it, at least maybe 75% of our promotion is on the internet. Yeah. So what are some positives, like positives and negatives that you've experienced, or you've had like other artists experience from promoting on the internet? So I know we're getting into like the a couple of deeper questions here.
Oh yeah, no. I was laughing because I do most of our promotional work, and because Josh does a bunch of work on other things, and so this is my tip. Yeah. But the positives in terms of promoting on the internet are. I like the range of audience you can reach. Yeah. That's really great. Again, encountering people that you would just have never encountered if you were only playing live and only doing, regional promotion.